Hi, you guys. So I had to do a trip for work. As you can see, I'm not in my usual background. But let's get into Real Housewives of New York Season 14, Episodes 6 and 7. Two quick announcements. I have a big surprise for you guys on Friday. You'll want to hit that notification button. I promise you that you will regret deeply, deep inside not hitting that notification button this week. Especially if you're a fan of Real Housewives of New Jersey. All right. That's all I can do is give you hints. I don't know. There's not much else I can do. So for today's video, I'm going to do a really rapid fire recap with some gossip in between and some sound bites from episode 7 that I wanted to capture on here that I think it'll be good for you to hear as I comment on them. All right, so let's start. Well, we start off the show with Uba taking Erin Leachy to Jacob & Co. to borrow some diamonds for her anniversary party. She's renewing her vows after 10 years with Abe. And so Erin's very excited to have this glam party, and Uba's like, let me take you to Jacob & Co. so you can borrow some diamonds, which is kind of cute for a wedding, you know, something blue, borrowed, etc. Anyway, what ends up happening is Erin borrows about $500,000 in diamonds. So I thought it would be fun to look up Jacob & Co.'s reviews on Yelp, and look what I found. Serge K says, this company is as successful as it is because they got help from thieves, drug dealers, murderers, and scums of society. Serge seems very upset. He says only classless thugs wear anything from Jacob. The people who work for this company are the most unintelligent savages you will ever meet. They have neither culture nor intelligence nor an education. They got lucky with their business because criminals supported them. The movements inside all of these watches are cheap. Chinese garbage. Not a single one of these watches is worth more than $29.99. Throwing a bunch of diamonds and some gold and you might have a $100 watch. Don't expect quality diamonds. If you're buying diamonds from this place, make sure you track the source and make sure that the source is humane, which it isn't. These people are animals. I mean, where was Serge when they were shooting the show? Because Serge seems like he would be good TV. Well, at least there was this positive review from Jacob C. I just wonder if Jacob C is part of Jacob & Co., like the owner writing or the owner's son writing about the store that he owns. Okay, it says, was in the neighborhood looking for rings and visited numbers of stores, including De Beers and Tiffany, would recommend all ring shoppers, basically, to visit Jacob & Co. But I thought you guys would get a kick out of it. Needless to say, no one's willing to buy $25,000 sunglasses, so they had to borrow $500,000 in jewelry. What can I say? But they don't have anything on the $1 million lollipop holder. True dat. Although the Madonna glove was really cool, gotta say. Well, all that dragging aside, Jacob & Co. did go to Monaco. I do remember them doing parties at Hotel de Paris. And I think I saw them in Cannes doing gifting and, you know, lending jewels for the red carpet. But I definitely remember them in Monaco at the Hotel de Paris for different things. Yeah, so that must be where Uba met him, I bet. So after we establish all that, we move on, and Jessel says, I'm not going to do more than a generic apology to Erin Leachy because I don't feel like I should have to, and that's where we leave that. And if you can't remember what the apology between Jessel and Erin was about, neither can I, because it was obviously that lame and they dragged it out way too long, so don't worry about it. So I don't know if they've mentioned it yet on The Real Housewives of New York, but Jenna Lyons suffers from a genetic disorder called incontinentia pigmenti, which caused her to have artificial hair, teeth, and eyelashes. And this is why she's invented an eyelash company, which she actually had before she started on the show. Here it is, love scene. Now, Jenna is obviously also starting post-show an interior decorating company that also has objects that she's going to sell to her clients as well as to, I'm sure, people online. And as the women mentioned, quite a few collabs that we see during a wreath-making party in episode 7 that Brynn Whitfield has for the group. So this eyelash company will become more important in episode 7 because Jenna uses it as a reason to confide some secret information to Sai. Here's Erin Leachy with her husband, Abe. This was from the New York Times article that they put out to announce their engagement on July 1st, 2012. Anyway, during episode 6, we see Abe surprise Erin Leachy at a romantic dinner on the Upper East Side, which is one of their first dates, and he gives her a giant rock to commemorate their 10-year anniversary. She seems genuinely surprised. It didn't seem like an act, which I thought was cool and fun. And I hate when they stage things like that, but that seemed legit. And I loved it. And I was like, oh my gosh, give me your diamond ring, you bitch. Then we see Jenna essentially tell a story to Sai in episode 6 and a little bit in episode 7 that she and her girlfriend that was super private, that she'd been with for a year and a half, broke up. And obviously the read between the lines is because of the TV show. She doesn't say it, but she says, like, she alludes that she doesn't like the public life, and now Jenna's in the public eye and there's not much she can do about it at a really hugely magnified level, even more so than she was before because Real Housewives of New York has such a huge fan base. So her girlfriend dumps her, apparently. But as I mentioned in my last video, she gets a new girlfriend, so don't worry about it. But we do see her flirting with men a little bit at Erin Leachy's anniversary party. She says, like, there's a guy hot that she would like to, like, hook up with, which is a little bit surprising because I thought she was, like, 100% only women now, but it seems like she will dabble here and there. We get introduced to a new storyline with Jessel and her husband that she has no sex with, and that is that she wants to have a third child, a daughter, and she wants to do IVF again. And so she's going to have to finally tell her mom that she did IVF. She does do this. She has a lunch. I think it's episode 7. And they chat about it. And the mom's like, I'm so sorry. I would have been there for you because it seems all very difficult on you physically. And she said it was. But that's why she didn't tell her mom, because she didn't want the gossip in the Indian community. They do have a tendency to gossip in that community quite a bit, as well as other communities like Italians. But she also said that she didn't want her mom to worry. Yes, and her mom doesn't live in New York. She barely lives in New York, so mom definitely not in New York. She didn't want her to rush to her side. So let's take a closer look at Erin's invitation sponsors. These were the people listed on her invitation for her 10-year anniversary, which has got to be the most tacky thing I've ever seen for a New Yorker to do. But let's just, I'm trying to hang in there with Erin. This is liquor brands, bar, photography, the venue itself, the event planners. I mean, they're all on here. So, like, did she actually pay for anything to do with her 10-year anniversary at this bank? I'd say no. I'd say it was completely sponsored, which, yeah. Hey, wait a minute. Do you think that ring that Abe gave Erin was sponsored too in some way? So then Brynn tells us the story about how she's been engaged 3 times and she's obviously emotionally unavailable due to her horrific past, which we've already found out about doing yoga while I do this video. And then we see Sai and her husband interacting, and they're talking about how they're like very different but very the same. And Sai also doesn't know how to connect with people and be like feeling or empathetic. We get a little scene with that. Then there was a very New York cliche scene of Jessel looking for schools with her husband that she never has sex with and asking him to pay $62,000 a year for one of their babies to go to preschool at some Montessori or private school there. They don't say the name. And then we see them fill out the application. And then it's kind of a funny scene because Jessel, who comes off as being really highfalutin and established publicist and all this stuff, doesn't know what the widely used word inept meant, which is having or showing no skill, clumsy. This blew my mind that she didn't know what socially inept meant, and especially that she was going to put it on her son's application. And I took it that she was making this up and this was just for the cameras, because no publicist at her level would not know what socially inept means, and that it's a negative and not a positive. So I found that scene sort of ridiculous, but I guess her and her husband are really acting, and I think that's what we need to take away at this point. I'm not sure we're ever going to see the real Jessel. Meanwhile, Oob is at home with COVID, so she doesn't participate in the episode too much. They often will let things like being sick or not being able to attend something play with your mental state and make you afraid that you might be losing your job. So I bet that happens with Oob, and I'm sure we're going to see her really kick off like a maniac shortly because she doesn't want to lose her spot. And at this moment in time, she probably wasn't sure if she had it yet. We all go to Erin's anniversary party at this bank, which is very beautifully decorated. So I should go look at that sponsorship again of who did the event design, because very nice job. And we listened to a bunch of speeches, and the women are kind of making fun, like the peanut gallery, and the whole time sort of had this vibe.
Nothing will save this show. The Jewel Clark sure can carry a tune.
Yeah, she's got to do better than that tonight. She's got to carry the whole show.
Erin's sister comes and tells them to be quiet, that they're being rude. Erin's mom comes over and tries to talk to the women, and they kind of like say, I can't talk to you now because the sister said we were being rude. Jenna Lyons, seems to acknowledge the sister and be really respectful. Everyone else seems to think like, oh, screw you, we're on a show. But in all honesty, I thought it was tacky. You've been invited to an anniversary party, and I love how everybody wants to make it about them. It wasn't about them. It was about Erin and her husband. And I thought Bryn's behavior at the anniversary was boring and typical and disrespectful and dysfunctional, and I didn't like it. It made me really uncomfortable. I would have knocked Bryn out if she flirted with my husband, even if it's the funniest thing ever. And frankly, I would have knocked him out. And I could tell Erin was really upset with her husband, which really bothered me, because now I'm wondering, is there problems in Erin's marriage that we're not aware of? Because I kind of felt it. I did. Did you guys feel it? Like the way they kissed at the anniversary was like a peck. He seems to flirt. And, he's very lovely to her, to Erin. But it sounds like if Erin was ever checked out, or busy or something, that he might consider cheating. He seems like the type. And that really was horrible for me because I really liked him. But that was the vibe I was getting, and I couldn't get off that vibe. And it was very upsetting. I understood why Erin was upset on the show about Bryn doing that, on that episode, calling their marriage almost out like BS. Anyway, I'm sure I'm going to have an unpopular opinion, like, oh, but Bryn was so funny. She was funny. No, I kill her. Get away from my husband, you Fruit Loop, and get your dysfunctional ass out of here. You know what I'm saying? And stop hitting on my family. Gross. And everyone's like, oh, but she doesn't really want your husband, so that's supposed to make you feel better? Like, that's almost a worse insult. Hey, I've got a secret, you guys. Have you noticed that Jessel seems to be getting lots of press above and beyond the other ladies? Comes in handy being an ex-BWR person, doesn't it? Erin Leachy's engagement party ends on a sour note. Sai feels like there's no food at the event, although there is hors d'oeuvres. And so she wants to go to Nobu, and so she just is drunk and hungry and doesn't care anymore about the party and feels like there's so many people there that she should just go and not bother Aaron and just leave. And Aaron takes it personally and thinks Sai is being rude because Sai had called it out in other people doing the same bad thing and saying that was crappy to do to someone. So she was like, I don't understand why you wouldn't go out of your way to say goodbye to me since you know that's rude. And so it starts a little bit of a war between Aaron and Sai. So we find out that Jenna Lyon's name isn't Jenna, it's Judith. And the reason that her name became Jenna as a nickname was because her brother called her Jenna Genitalia. But why? So when Erin sits down with her husband post-anniversary party, he tells her about Bryn Whitfield's flirtations and jokes and stuff like this, and it really pisses Erin off. She finds it disrespectful to the theme of the event and what it stood for, and also like, get off my husband, Bryn, as I mentioned earlier. And so this really, I think, gets Erin going, like in real life. Thank God, Bryn comes up with an amazing idea. Let's do a wreath decorating party. Okay, Bryn never, ever requested to do a wreath decorating party. Okay, that was such that's a producer idea. But for the sake of the show and holiday crap, we'll go for it. So they end up going to this holiday wreath decorating party, and Sai's like, I don't care what anyone thinks about me. I don't care if I left early and she doesn't like it. I don't report in to Erin, and she's all that way. And then we see Erin walk in really pissed. She's not planning on staying long. She really just wants to get in, shoot the scene, and go, you can tell. And she comes in and she's like, Sai, you shouldn't have left. It was rude. And then Sai's like, so what? Who cares? Screw you, basically. And that was kind of boring, but whatever. That was that. And then Bryn and Erin kind of go at it about her husband, and Bryn's like, how dare you say that I was flirting with your married woman's husband? I don't do that. And she's like, yes, you do. And, you flirt with everyone. And then everyone's like, you can't take it seriously. That's just Bryn. And Erin, I think's point was, well, yeah, but that's offensive. I'm sick of it. Like, enough of her cutesy-wootsy shit. Get out of here, That's New York. That's New York. Not the other stuff.
Like, our kids were right there. Like, what if they had heard it? I'm just saying. That's not acceptable to me. I'm sorry, it's really not.
Listen.
Is that a child?
It's a child. Just ignore him.
No, I'm not going to ignore him. I'm going to...
Doesn't sound like a serious problem.
I'll be right back. I'm not going to ignore him. It really pisses me off. She came in, she started some shit. She said rude things to my husband. She wore her sunglasses the whole time. And then she walked out. Sometimes she doesn't have tact. And it really pissed me off.
It was kind of funny at the time. And I even said to her...
I don't know why you're laughing. I'm like, disgusted.
It was funny.
How is that funny that she's joking about that you should be around?
I hear you. In retrospect, it was
like,
not the time and place.
I'm like sick to my stomach. I just don't even know how I'm supposed to be in the same room as her. You know I can't be fake.
Oh, I know.
I don't know how.
Okay, so here's the story about Gideon, the guy who lives in LA, who pretends to live in New York, and works for Mauricio's the agency, Bryn's ex-fiancé.
Gideon and I were together total 5 years. When Gideon proposed, we were actually broken up for about a couple months, and I was seeing someone else. Outside at the Ritz-Carlton, all the speakers at sunset, everything starts playing this really beautiful rendition of If I Could Walk 500 Miles. And then all of a sudden I see Gideon come around the corner with my dog and flowers. The worst thing you'll ever have to do is call your boyfriend and tell him that you're engaged to someone else.
She finishes that scene, by the way, making us all think he's a Prince Charming. So why didn't she marry him? And by the way, why did he have her dog if she wasn't with him?
Tinder was on like beta. Yeah. And some guy on there basically, he asked if I wanted to take a pic. And I was like, this is gross. This is why I don't do online dating, etc. As I'm going through and I'm deleting.
You meant to delete me.
And I go to yours, and there's this paragraph, and it's like, top of the morning to you. Hope you're having a lovely day. Thank you so much for swiping right on me. I would love to perhaps take you out for a cup of tea one day. And yours truly, Gideon. And I remember reading it being like, this is a good guy. And I remember being like, sure, I'll get a cup of tea with you.
My recollection is that you were the most beautiful person I've ever seen in my life.
Okay. Why don't you sell my engagement ring and then you can buy this car? Okay, so do you have it or not?
You know I have it.
I feel Carson. I remember specifically, I was walking on 57th Street, and I saw my reflection in a mirror, and I saw the ring as a massive, like 4 or 5 carats, stupid beautiful.
There's so many things that don't make sense in that story. First of all, why was Brynn suddenly shy with dick pics when she hits on everybody and tries to sleep with the world? Why suddenly conservative? That's number one. Number two, she's selling us that this guy is actually perfect, but then at some point in this conversation, she pretends to puke out the side door. Like, what? He's so perfect and so nice she had to puke? I mean, huh? Then she somehow tries to tie it to her childhood, but it doesn't really make a lot of sense. And then she says, I wasn't ready to be a wife. I'm so confused.
Yeah. I've been thinking about freezing my eggs for a few years. Creating a family for myself is the only thing in my life right now that I want the most, and I don't have. I would love to be able to do it right, but it's like TikTok. I don't have like forever. I might look 25, but I'm not. So I need to get my shit together. I think I should go to the egg freezing place and get a chicken costume and just go in and be like...
Okay, I'm just saying, she's like, I want a family more than anything, but I've been asked to be married 3 times and turned all 3 guys down. And here's one right now who still has the engagement ring that's like Prince Charming, the nicest man ever, but I don't want to marry him. But I'm looking like crazy so much that I want to sleep with Aaron's dad and Aaron's husband. But like, no. I mean, what? I'm so confused by this lady. She's a mess. So on that note, I'm going to wrap up this video. But what I do want to end this video with is please hit that notification button. You won't be sorry. And Jenna Lyons, if you have an extra one of those presents you gave the ladies with all of your sponsored things in it that you like collabed on, I'd like one right away. Don't listen to those petty bitches. In fact, give me theirs. All right. Bye, you guys.